Hello, hello! Breaking news on the 1997 podcast. Everything's on fire. I'm your host, Token578, and this is my other co-host.
Hi, I'm the Static Fox. We are also on fire currently as we are dealing with an overload of information. We are burning just like our good friends in the Pizza Simulator ending. It's a lot to take
Said
in.
it as best as I could.
Right? It's a mess. It's honestly such a mess right now in the fandom. So much information is coming out, and it's honestly pretty
Everything is
difficult to
truly
deal
unplanned.
with.
This is a mini episode, one of two. The movie episode, the Ruin episode, as they aren't a part of the main podcast. It's just here because we have a lot to go through and talk about that we couldn't with our pre-recorded bulk recordings of our podcast. Episode 2 and 1 was recorded last weekend from this posting, and we really expected the week to be calm and nothing happening because we're like, let's post on Friday,
did
and then
we.
everything happened, and we're like, we gotta post on Friday still, even though it's so outdated, as you can tell from the description.
It's like everything hit
Hell.
all at once.
Mhm.
We in that video I had went off so much about how this is such a bad time in the fandom and that so much was like not really turning out very great because it was like so long since we had any information to actually work off of, and then we just got hit with what I think may be one of the biggest weeks in Five Nights at Freddy's history in just information alone and what's all been given to us.
For real. We have a new, the teaser that showed us the possible, what was to be the camera. We had no idea, and just a few days later, we now know that is the camera, possibly stationary. Love the new camera system. It looks fantastic.
It does
back in
look
the
really
old
cool.
FNaF, camera button style. It's very cool.
It's very cool. I also think that it's really interesting to see the intercom feature and how that may tie back into what we had back in FNaF 3, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
I think it may be...
Hopefully, it's still a balloon boy.
I would cry.
We'll see.
I'm gonna strangle
so
you, by the way.
It's so cool that it uses the unused FNaF 1 camera viewings for the where the cameras are supposed to be.
It really
love
is.
that.
It's
Love
very
that.
cool.
Other than that, we have so many new tools, what looks to be a taser, but it's really not. It seems to be a hacking system, to do, wires or something, Among Us? Who knows?
Yeah, that was a really weird system. It seems like we're getting so many new different tools in this. A lot more than...
We don't have the Faz watch.
Yeah, no Faz watch.
We don't have a gun either.
That is
or a
true.
camera.
We don't have a gun. We don't have a Faz watch.
We don't have anything to defend off other than the new things. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah. It's very interesting.
We also...
Go on.
No, you go on.
It's very interesting to see how this will work out without our fateful guide as Glamrock Freddy, and to see
Oh, yeah, rest in peace.
poor Cassie just lost on her own, trying to figure her way out.
Speaking of Cassie, that is our new protagonist. We already knew that we were getting a new protagonist with the teaser, but it's great to have a full design, full voice actor, who voice actor does so well
Right.
at Cassie's voice. We're probably going to get to see a lot more of that in game. It's going to be so cool. I love her style. The designers did amazing on the design. Sorry, Gregory, you're getting thrown down well on this one.
I think that, whenever we had kind of went through it together, you had mentioned something about how Cassie looked like an actual child, how, she looked like she would have actually been a child. All of her outfit stuff was pretty...
She doesn't look like a design. She doesn't look like a designer. She doesn't look like she was just put there in the game as a design, like Gregory.
It's so weird to see.
Sorry, Gregory.
Yeah, Gregory, sorry, you don't look like you're an actual...
We can tell from her... We can tell her personality. We can tell things about her through her design. The name. Cassie.
Cassie. I'm very
Cassie,
conflicted about this.
I like the new name, but we're seeing a lot of, from what I've been seeing at least, it was definitely that initial, oh, Cassidy, haha, it's Cassidy. But I've been seeing a lot of people mention the possibility of the name being a misdirect and it being based on actually Charlie.
I do think that is very
Charlotte Emily.
interesting to kind of see. It'd be very interesting if it was a misdirect and it was referring to Charlie.
It's mostly the green accents on Cassie's design that I think people are going really hard on.
It's interesting.
For theories, I could see it, but it would be very very interesting, and there would be a lot of conversations on how that happens. It's so FNaF kids frowny smiley. We don't know. We don't know what the heck is happening.
I'll have to end up thinking about that more, because I don't know what my thoughts are on that. I don't typically like it when people just kind of look at a character and say, they look pretty similar. These characters are the same people, you know?
I feel like they're, if it wasn't intentional for Gregory, which it's hard to say, it's definitely intentional now, even maybe as a joke, making fun a bit, but I feel like we're going to get some lore on this, especially on Gregory, too. This is going to be very interesting on that. If Gregory's even here, we don't even know. We don't even know. Might just be a funny haha, I'm not Gregory and I'm secretly a villain.
Yeah. Speaking of, we do have some really interesting kind of predictions. Do you want to go ahead and mention those?
We do. I feel like we need to mention the whole Vanny thing first. It seems like well, this is a hot take from what I've been seeing, but it initially was like, oh, this seems to be like way after a security breach, which makes sense and all. But it's so interesting with the graffiti. It really, like, it is. We know one character that graffitis a lot with specific, styling and colors. It might just be a coincidence, but like, what if Vanny is doing the graffiti? We don't see her at all, though. That's the one issue.
Yeah, it is very interesting, especially because maybe we just aren't up to date in the modern kind of understanding of the timeline, because we don't really know what ending this is meant to take place after.
A lot of people are saying, like, ending being the good Vanny or bad Vanny, or Gregor just leaving the Pizzaplex endings, which could make sense. One being Gregor being dragged back in by Vanny, which does not explain why Vanny's not really there. The bad Vanny ending, having Gregory stop Vanny, she dies, I guess, and Glamrock Freddy also is destroyed, leaving Gregory to leave, I'm guessing. But the most potential, it seems to be, is the good Vanny ending, where Gregory, Vanny / Vanessa or whatever, and Glamrock Freddy's head leaves, which we don't see Glamrock Freddy's head, which is interesting. But it was unexpected to have none of the endings we thought were going to be the canon ones be the canon ones.
It is very interesting. Hopefully more will be revealed as we get closer to time.
Hopefully. We have a new mask. We have the Help Wanted Vanny mask.
I do want to get into that.
Our new protagonist is using.
I'm gonna go ahead and kind of take over, if you don't mind, to kind of share some of the predictions that we had came up with. And feel free to join in, of course.
Will do.
So a big thing, noticing all the graffiti, going under the impression that it belongs to Vanny, and that Vanny kind of made it. We start to see some really interesting interpretations about where, what predictions this could lead into. I'm pretty sure at one point it says, one of the only bits of graffiti that you can actually make out says "close forever" in yellow and purple, and you know what yellow and purple means in this series. There's no getting out of that.
Yeah, look at our like
us.
styling.
Yeah.
My God.
And just look
Oh
at
my
us.
God. 1987 podcast reference? Can't believe it.
No. Already so popular we're getting in FNaF games.
I can't believe it. Can't believe it. But yeah, it's very interesting having that graffiti be the only thing we can really read in the environment.
I think what this kind of graffiti means is more of just kind of a teaser to what a lot of this will actually involve for the future of what this will kind of turn out to be. For instance, I think that this DLC will have a lot more emphasis on not necessarily Vanny, but more leaning into the glitch trap and Vanny side of things, even if it isn't using Vanny. Especially what you just mentioned about how this is seen in the Vanny mask from Help Wanted, which is shocking on its own, but also seeing
it's all teched out and everything.
All teched out too,
it's crazy.
And it was really interesting to see how that may have, again, with all of the different tools that we've now been given, how that seems to be a sort of night vision mode. And I actually have
with some glitches in there as well. We get to see an entire new Splatoon 3 like goop baloney.
I think what we're going to end up seeing throughout this whole DLC is the process in which Vanny kind of became a follower of Glitch Trap, and now that she seems to no longer be present necessarily, seeing that
rest in peace. I love how our first episode mentioned that we really would hate to see Vanny be kicked out.
I'm choosing to not think about it. Besides, it feels like that she's very much getting replaced in a...
She's getting lore.
She is getting a lot of lore. And it's a very interesting...
I don't think it's present lore.
Yeah. But it is really interesting to kind of see this. And I think that this is really going to tie in, especially with stuff like the mask. I think the mask is going to be used a lot in the actual gameplay, possibly to like complete different objectives and stuff. But I think this is going to have really interesting form on the gameplay with all the glitches that we see, to the point where it may end up taking over like Cassie's mind and turning her into Vanny, basically.
Yeah, like that's our general theory on what we have, is this game being the process on Cassie turning into the new volunteer, new follower of Glitch Trap. As we can see, spoiler alert, in the final few seconds, we see our new guy, which we'll talk about later.
Definitely.
But he is kneeling down a bit with his hand out, you know, as a welcoming gesture, a possible team up type situation, kind of like what he did in Help Wanted.
Yeah.
Very goofy, very very theatric.
Very theatrical.
So that will be very fun. That's our general theory, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out on, especially if it is Cassidy or Charlie representation for the protagonist. It'll be very interesting to see if that has to do with it at all.
I do wonder if this can, if this will kind of help us solve old FNaF lore too. If it is Charlie or Cassidy, it could provide, even if it's just more of like a parallel situation, it'd be really interesting to see where this could kind of go and what this could build up to, and seeing how we can fit it back into this interpretation of who could be a representation of either Cassidy or Charlie. I think it'd be a really interesting thing to build off of.
It's so interesting because we're so wrong about Ruin from the teaser from into the trailer, so it's going to be really interesting to see how much is different, because they completely took the carpet from under us.
They really did.
We are in blind waters. It's so funky. Speaking of weird shenanigans, we have new ruined animatronics, as what the fandom is currently calling them. Chica doesn't seem to be very important in this DLC, which was
Unfortunately
very
not.
surprising. That was my one prediction.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that Chica doesn't ever really get to be seen in the spotlight very
We
often.
just see her walk, and then she gets like souped up into a conveyor belt. Rest in peace, Chica.
Rest
Will
in
be
peace.
missed. Will be missed.
Aside from that,
Monty.
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 I think
he is not doing good.
he is not.
He needs some help. He is a rogue crocodile on the way to your house. Watch out. Those jaws bite.
Yeah, boy, do they.
It is so.
I really hope to see
Wait,
more.
there was a lot of.
I
Yeah?
hope to see more of the classic gator death roll animation. Aside from the general chomping motion, it's really interesting to see how very worn out now a lot of them seem to look.
And so, like, very different types of worn out.
Definitely.
Chica, not that much more like melted. Monty completely scrapped from his casing. And we'll talk about Roxy in a minute.
Oh,
she
Roxy.
deserves a topic. I've been seeing a lot of people talking about the blue thing in Monty's jaw, which interesting, but I don't think it's gonna be anything big. I think it's just gonna be some small details. But that doesn't show up in the Glamrock's endoskeletons, so it must be something very special to Monty,
That is
or
true.
something new, very new. We'll probably get some context on either what that is and if it's important or not, or it might just be a small thing for like, hey, this is what needs to happen for some mechanics
Oh, that is true.
of how the animatronics work in the universe. Who knows?
See, whenever I first saw it, I didn't really. Granted, I don't have much of a theorist brain or anything, but I didn't see it much as anything to be important or really noted.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly, in my mind, think that it's kind of being blown out of proportion. I think we're just trying to grasp on everything that we can. I don't think it's going to be important at all. I just kind of think that it's part of the endoskeleton and nothing else with that. But
we'll see how much our predictions in this episode will follow
this
our
is going to
previous
become so
episodes
dated already. I can tell.
Yeah, we already said that in the first episode, and it was true. Our second episode, we'll see.
We'll see. You know?
We have Roxy, which seems to be working on herself.
Just a little.
Or we're working on her. Don't know.
Don't know yet.
She just does not look like she was in security
Not
breach
at
when
all.
she was cracked. She has a new eyepiece thingy.
Yeah, it's really interesting to
Maybe-
see what weird kind of face plate, but not really, that she kind of has. I originally thought that it was just a straight up gas mask for some reason.
Imagine
That would
looking
look
at
sick
gas
though.
masks. Maybe Vanny is stuck down there, not really attached to Glitch Trap, but still on her William Afton arc, and changing the animatronics a bit, adding some new dangers. Who knows? We'll see. There's definitely something towards that.
Yeah.
She and some of the animatronics also don't seem to be as aggressive.
They don't.
As
I will say,
it's really odd.
it seems like maybe we're just kind of getting the wrong interpretation. I personally
Yeah, it could just be good edits.
Yeah. Especially that one moment of the daycare attendant, which is painful because I have so many personal headcanons and just thoughts specifically about the daycare attendant that has to be like completely rewritten and redone now.
Oh, you know the daycare attendant fandom
Oh
is gonna
no,
be
it's
quaking.
it's going to be
It's
a
gonna
disaster.
There's gonna be so much angst.
There is.
There's gonna be
There's gonna be so much angst.
The new daycare attendant, the new ruined daycare attendant, waves at the player in an interesting motion. Maybe it's so odd. There's so many odd things. Roxy seems not to be that. Honestly, Roxy seems to be like a wild
Oh,
animal.
yeah.
In terms of things, it's so interesting on maybe the ruined being broken so much has kind of dumbed down or taken away the glitch trap virus-esque, or maybe glitch trap just like, I'm gone. I'm gonna go become a big shadow Bonnie or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
We have that with Glamrock Chica being put into a conveyor somewhere, which hopefully not a trash rabbit from the books. Hopefully not. Hopefully not.
You just mentioned
So
Shadow Bonnie. Why don't we get into that some more with this new glitchy rabbit character that we seem to
yeah, this
show
new
up?
Shadow Bonnie, Glitch Trap, Burn Trap, Glamrock Bonnie creature.
Yeah.
Absolute creature.
It's very odd seeing this amalgamation about what this could possibly be. Um,
And showing the design so quickly, too. Showing, like, the whole upper half legs.
it is very interesting to see it
So
revealed.
very.
I do kind of disagree with you because maybe I'm just simply blind, but I think it's really hard to make out still for the most part. I don't think that they're like really jumping the gun too early with it or anything.
It's. I feel like it's jumping the gun for reveals in FNaF, especially. We normally don't get to see the main villains, and that's what's interesting. It really feels more like how Vanny was in the first trailer of just, hey, this is your side villain, your small villain.
Yeah.
Look at her go.
Yeah.
Don't look at Burn Trap. He's not there.
It does lead into
So,
the question of if there is a bigger villain than what appears to be a possible glitch trap.
we still have we have Glitch Trap, we have Burn Trap, we have Vanny, we have the Blob. We have a lot of villains going on that we don't really know a lot about,
Yes.
and we're gonna really see how things go.
We definitely have a lot of characters to talk about and consider about their possible lore indications about what they may mean for the future.
Yeah, the Blob isn't shown at all. It's very
It
interesting.
is very interesting.
We also, a mutual friend of ours mentioned the Glamrock Bonnie idea, which was very. It makes sense. It makes
I'll let you
sense
go
on
ahead and
this
take
new
this
body.
one.
Will do. It's so very interesting with that bluer color. You have the new Bonnie split jaw like the Glamrocks. It's very. You got the shoulder pads. It's interesting that we're going to finally get context on an ending to the Glamrock Bonnie story that we got teased. But the combination between Shadow Bonnie and vibes and Glitch Trap vibes, there's something going on, especially with the glitchiness being green and purple.
I will say,
which is our new two colors that we're dealing with.
yeah, I'm very.
If you want to talk about that, continue.
Sorry, I'm very excited to see the kind of Shadow Bonnie representation. Though obviously it's too early to go ahead and call to see if this is possibly Shadow Bonnie.
100%.
But either way, I think that the tie back to the design with the white eyes and like white mouth, I think it's a really cool tie back because FNaF 2 is one of my favorite games and Shadow Bonnie is one of my favorite kind of designs. And I think it's really cool to see a return of that to a honestly really cool looking potential villain. I think that this weird rabbit thing looks really really cool. And again, it's too early to
very neat.
say much, but I could just gush on and on about how cool I think that the design is.
Very. It could be obviously the green coloring is very much Glitch Trap, but with the new purple, it's very William.
Yes.
It really feels like a fusion between Burn Trap, Glamrock Bonnie, and Glitch Trap, and I'm really not hoping it is. I really like them separated, personally, for me.
Yeah, I can see that.
But we'll see what happens. We have so much little context on this little fella who's a little rabbit. it's just a very interesting way to go, design point wise, from Glitch Trap to Burn Trap. Personally, in my opinion, do I think it's an upgrade? Iffy on that. I think all designs there really stand out on their own. Uh, it's so very interesting, especially with the Vanny mask and things. It, like I said, like Static said, mostly, our personal theory is gonna be that Cassie becoming the new Vanny with that interesting pose, interesting stuff. Now, I have something to tell you, to talk to you about.
Mm-hmm.
Security Breach Trailer 1 voice lines.
Oh, yes. This is...
Do we think that they matter to Ruin? Do we think that it is going to be used in any way or any context that can be given from that?
I'm still not fully, sold on the idea that they have much importance. I think that it's definitely interesting, and I am going to have to go back and rewatch the trailers of Security Breach. I think that, especially with some of the voice lines, in the way that they kind of relate to Vanny, under our kind of prediction that this will be a very much Vanny heavy kind of DLC, I think it's definitely worth revisiting and considering the possible lore indications that it may have for the future.
Yeah, and if it does matter for Security Breach, we're gonna have to see on the counter of William Afton-esque villains getting a voice and how that works out, because it's not worked out that well in the past.
Yeah.
We'll have to see. We'll have to see how it works.
I can only hope that the British accent returns.
I mean, it makes sense why the British accent isn't there if it's with this whole mimic shenanigans. That is a topic.
Boy, is it.
But, like, why would you mimic a serial killer to the greatest extent and not mimic his accent?
Not even mimic
Maybe
the voice.
there's just not a lot of work with. Wait. Oh, that is so interesting. In the FNaF 1, you know, with Help Wanted and the new revisions on the old FNaF games, none of the ones in Help Wanted, which this mimic theory is speculating that the mimic is basing itself on Help Wanted very much, and how that works with things. It does make sense if it wouldn't be able to copy a voice, because Springtrap doesn't have a voice until Pizza Sim.
That is really interesting.
It's very interesting.
That is very interesting.
Maybe he just got retconned to not be British. Who knows?
I can only hope
that... That'd be greatly upsetting. Do you have any other topics to talk about?
I could honestly just go on and on forever about the ties back to Vanny in this. Though we'll probably have to end up cutting this pretty soon, just so that we can go ahead and get this out pretty soon.
Before we do, we have one last topic. Glamrock Freddy, Freddy Fazbear himself, is not looking good.
Definitely.
Tying back to that idea that the ending is from the good vein ending, we do not see that man's head.
Yeah.
He is headless. But we also have the image on Security Breach of the cut, infected, smashed up Glamrock Freddy, and I don't think they would miss out on giving that very iconic head. The one, the teeth, the smashed up. Gosh, he works so well. We might get unused Glamrock Freddy voice lines from Security Breach.
I will say...
Do you have anything to talk about Glamrock Freddy?
I do. I think it's going to be really interesting. I think it's almost basically kind of confirmed at this point with how much it's being implied that we will now see the return of the more classic Freddy, whereas Security Breach had made such a major deviation to now have Freddy as this really friendly guy. I think we're definitely going to see more of a return of Freddy being seen as this big boss character in the same way that he was back in the first game. This kind of animatronic to be feared, to have such an intimidating presence where just
especially after we upgraded him
Oh,
to
definitely.
all heck, yeah.
But just, especially with Gregory being alone, I think that also kind of plays into Freddy being taken over fully by the glitch trap virus, if that still does exist. Either way, though, I think that we're definitely going to see a return of Freddy as one of the main antagonists of sorts. And I can definitely see
Hmm.
a potential boss battle, even, with having to deal with upgraded
Ooh,
Freddy.
that'll be so
It would
interesting.
be.
That leads us into Gregory. We don't know what's happening with him, if he's really there, if he's not. There's so much topics about it, because Landmark Freddy seems like he's trying to find something, or he's doing something in there. Maybe he's trying to find Gregory. We don't know. I feel like they're gonna do a classic thing of, Landmark Freddy's like, "Hey, I'm still a nice guy," and then nope, he's not. He's not a nice guy.
Yeah.
Pretty quickly. I don't think we're gonna get straight to evil Freddy vibes. He's probably just gonna show up at the beginning of the game a bit and be like, "Hey, I'm good," and he does his thing.
Yeah.
Gets out of safe mode.
It will be very
It's
interesting
so
to
very.
see how, like, Steel
How
Wool
they
will
treat
kind
him.
of deal with that.
I love the Glamour Freddy boss idea of him. It really does, obviously we don't have Bonnie to really base on the old FNaF, but it really does feel like we get Chica, which is a very early game, leaves pretty quickly, not that dangerous. And then, the more complicated ones, Monty and Roxy.
Mm
And then Glamrock Freddy. He's just here. He's chilling.
hmm. Yeah.
He's not chilling, actually. He's suffering.
Like the opposite of chilling.
We also yeah, yeah. We also have the idea of befriending the animatronics. It seems that might be a way for this to go.
Yes.
Um,
Especially seeing
it's
with
interesting.
kind of the daycare attendant, seeing the kind
Oh
of
yeah,
wave, it does offer the question if maybe if Cassie is going to kind of take this as less of an opportunity to help Gregory and more like kind of help out these animatronics who have, potentially be uh, no longer under the influence of Glitch Trap now.
especially after there was not backlash, but there were a lot of people that weren't really like happy with breaking these animatronics with personalities where human animatronics.
Yes.
And I think that was implied, that was like intentional.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we could go back on that into a more help them out a little bit, fellas, please. And especially if this new protagonist is represented by Charlie or
Definitely.
anything, it could make sense regarding that.
If Cassie is more of a tie to Charlie, I can definitely see this taking more of a passive route and now helping out these animatronics instead of turning against them in the way that Gregory had to escape.
Especially if we have this like hacking device, this device that seems to input into things.
Yeah.
It's interesting. There's a lot. We still have a lot to go through. Well, in the future at least.
Yes.
I think this is a good way to end it. Do you have anything else to end it with?
I don't believe so. I think that pretty much wraps up most of our major thoughts. There are some smaller ones which will probably weave into future episodes, especially as more gradual. I do actually have something which just kind of popped into my mind.
Oh?
Back talking about the new rabbit character going on the Security Breach TV website, tying that back into the whole we hear voices, we see shadows kind of deal.
Very plural creature.
Yeah. And how that could be alluding to the potential of a quote unquote Shadow Bonnie making a return to the series.
Mm-hmm. It could be very interesting with Shadow Bonnie being so based on minigames and this weird thing in minigames. My personal theory back in Help Wanted was that Glitch Trap was a representation of Shadow Bonnie in one way or another, or vice versa. it's gonna be very interesting to see if it, if the new one's very minigame-esque, like Shadow Bonnie, that maybe we'll have more context to Princess Quest, and maybe a fight between the Princess Quest arcade machines, like we've been getting. Actually, no, we've already been getting this through the Princess Quest games. We've already been seeing our main protagonists in those games that kind of is Cassie, kind of is not. Who knows?
Yeah.
Fighting this black and purple glitchy mess in the arcade machines. We honestly might be fighting a third new villain entirely.
Yeah.
Who knows how many rabbits this game has stuffed in it?
Honestly,
Who
who
knows? It's like a
knows?
magician's hat.
Yeah. How many can we fit in here?
Yeah, that's my thoughts on it, at least. We'll have to see a lot more.
Definitely.
Having Gregory say at the end, "Don't give out on me," is quirky.
It is.
Quirky.
It is very
Very
interesting.
It's for your final thing in a trailer, you want it to be good, and that seems so weird, intentionally weird, such a weird thing for Gregory to say. But we also have, the walkie-talkie cast being like, "Gregory, please run. Get out of here. You gotta leave." But we don't see Gregory. I don't think we'll see Gregory yet.
Yeah. This does also
I think
kind of tie into, again, more stuff with the potential of seeing Cassie become a new sort of Vanny role. I think it could be really interesting to see maybe that she's getting tricked by this weird glitch rabbit thing, and potentially
Fitting, very fitting.
like kind of using the voice of Gregory and all of that to then kind of lead her more down to this path, and especially seeing the weird mask that now shows up, possibly seeing that the more you go further in the game, the more you have to rely on this mask, which will then kind of also relate more into becoming more and more one with Glitchtrap and becoming more possessed kind of over time.
Yeah, especially with the book's mimic epilogues. Main whole shtick for one of the mimic villains in that book is that the mimic can mimic the voice of a young child and will use it to bring in unsuspecting people in for the kill. Quirky, very quirky. Hopefully we get mimic backstory. Not from the books, but into the games itself. But it's very odd with how that is turning out. Because we did have the Fazbear frights, and it was, a thing of using those for some bits of it for actual, FNaF lore, but it was never something that was happening currently. It was always, whatever it was explaining was always not really important, and more of the mini details that couldn't be explained well in games. But this is a villain. You can't explain the main villain through the books like you can with Henry. Thank you. We're not doing that again.
Yeah,
we're not leaving this complete new guy from the books.
Yeah.
To show up as a main role, but we'll see. I think that's a good place to end it off. Do you have anything you want to end this off with?
Nothing particularly comes to mind. I can only hope that we see that this isn't it for our sweet girl boss Vanny, and that she does make an actual
Vanny, don't
appearance.
Rest in peace, circus animatronics. Gone
yeah, I guess we did also talk about that in the first episode, and that kind of confirms that they don't really have much to do at this moment with what appears to be going on with the storyline.
I don't have to feel bad Balloon Boy's not here because he's gone. He doesn't have a reason to be. He might be in the intercom, who knows.
That...
I think that's a great way to end it off.
Yeah.
It was very nice for you to be with us for the 1987 podcast. We'll be gone.
Yep. Check out the next episode, which should be on the movie. It's another mini episode where we'll discuss our thoughts on the newly released trailer as well as some of the posters. That'll be all for this episode, and of course, stay golden.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
Check our Discord.
Check our Discord in the comments below.
Goodbye.
See you.